Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
Michael stops by the sanitarium for another follow-up for his Bex. And learns from Liz that Willow is on executive leave until her trial. Liz also informs him that Willow moved out and back in with Drew. Michael calls this another of Willow's bad opinions, and Drew likely pitched her moving in with him to make a statement to the jury. Liz suggests Michael could get Willow down from Drew by giving her access to her kids. Michael refuses, saying Willow has had several chances to make the right decision and no way does. He knows it sounds harsh, but this is about guarding the kiddies from Willow and Drew. His kiddies earn a better mama than one on trial for tried murder. Will Willow say yes? Willow arrives at Drew's with her wallet, and Drew hobbles out on his club and asks how it feels being home. She feels their beautiful home has been tainted, and asks how he can live then. He claims that thinking of her and what she means to him helps him, but if she has bad recollections then, he can buy them a new home. Willow admits she's just overwhelmed by everything. Drew asks if she's having alternate studies about being with him. She says she wants a future with him, but she fears she'll be set up shamefaced, as Michael and his father control the city. Drew has faith she'll be set up innocent. Drew waxes on and on about how much he loves her and her kiddies before getting down on one knee and asking Willow to marry him. He believes having him standing beside her in court as her hubby will make a statement. Willow cries every time she's been married ahead. It's been out of necessity because of some circumstance, and the coming time she gets wedded, she wants it to be for the right reasons. Drew says it'll be for the right reason, unless she no longer loves him. Did Nina shoot Drew? Nina, sporting a shorter hairstyle, meets with Albrecht at the Port Charles Grill. Albrecht asks her bastard to write a positive piece in Crimson about Rocco and this confinement of justice, but Nina believes Lulu is in a better position to do so. Nina cries that Rocco has a vil guarding him, while Willow has no bone. But Nina says she just set about Willow moved back to Drew. Albrecht brings up Nina's justification, making effects worse for her son, and tells Nina that her coercion to make up for lost time and cover Willow only makes effects worse, points for Albrecht on that bone. Nina admits she did commodity to try to save Willow, and she regrets it. Albrecht asks, "You shot Drew for her, didn't you?" Nina insists she didn't shoot Drew, but she did throw Portia under the machine as a suspect the police weren't indeed considering. Albrecht snarks, "I don't know what's more dangerous, being your friend or relative." Further points for another on-point observation. Nina frets that she can't go to lose Portia as a friend, not in this city. Can Danny and Charlotte pull this off? Alexis, Jason, and Danny arrive at Lulu's to rehearse what the kiddies will tell the police about the lab incident. Laura answers the door, says Lulu is picking Charlotte up at Academy, and invites them in outside. Lulu and Charlotte arrive, but Nathan stops them from going into their house. Nathan tells Lulu she can't stay. Charlotte heads outside, where everyone is, and explains that her mama is outside talking to Nathan. Outdoors, Nathan tells Lulu that Rocco needs her right now. Back outside, Charlotte and Danny count what happened to Alexis, Jason, and Laura. Still, Danny adds in Charlotte's bright idea and claims Dalton punched Rocco. Alexis asks why this wasn't mentioned ahead. Charlotte and Danny assume Rocco was embarrassed, and if they brought it up, they stressed Dalton would make up indeed more lies. The grown-ups easily don't believe them, and Jason warns them that if they're caught in any falsehoods by the Bobbies, this will blow up, and it wouldn't be good for anyone. Charlotte insists it's the verity. Alexis also suggests that Laura and Jason step outdoors with her. Rocco gets several callers. Britt visits the beaten Rocco in juvie, sees his face, and demands a guard bring her a first aid tackle. Rocco feels bad for breaking her trust and stealing her crucial fob. She doesn't watch about that and asks who beat him. Rocco explains that it was another sprat, and his grandpa Sonny is taking care of it. Britt fears Sonny will only make effects worse, which is why she has to get him out of then. Britt has to leave, but warns the guard not to let this sprat indeed get as important as a hangnail. The guard asks Rocco if that was his mama. He says, "Yeah. No, just someone close to me." Latterly, Nathan brings Lulu to see Rocco, and Lulu is obviously concerned about what happened. Nathan fears Rocco was targeted because of who he's connected to, and the longer he's then, the worse it'll get. Nathan informs a guard that he's taking Rocco into his guardianship and back to the PCPD. Sonny makes demands of Justine. Sonny shows up at the PCPD to speak with Justine and, in the interrogation room, demands Rocco's immediate release. Sonny says Rocco's been assaulted, which Justine is sorry about. Sonny says they both know Dalton framed Rocco, so what's the hold-up? Justine admits it seems that Dalton is missing. Justine tells Sonny that the substantiation suggests Dalton made a false police report, which is why she thinks he skipped city. This, with Rocco at threat, can give them grounds to push for an immediate bail hail, which she hopes will be justice enough for him. Latterly, Nathan and Lulu bring Rocco into the station, and Rocco and Sonny sit in an interrogation room together. Lulu tells Nathan she can't thank him enough, and he's amazing, but did he just risk his job for her and Rocco? A better question, are they really setting up a Lulu-Nathan love plot, just for Maxie to return? Sidwell strikes again. Ava stops by Windmere to see Sidwell and talk about art, but he's not in the mood moment. He's not taking Measure C's defeat well. They make small talk about Sonny, and Rocco's name comes up with his having been arrested. Sidwell says he's been following that story nearly ultimately. Ava and Sidwell set a date for him to come by the gallery. That's when Britt arrives to speak to Sidwell. Sidwell apologizes to Ava for the prickly interruption, but Ava understands and heads out. Alone, Sidwell switches out at Britt for overpassing, getting sloppy, and he doubts she wants to end up like Dalton. Britt reminds him she's the only bone who can complete her father's work, but she needs him, too. She asks him to help her get Rocco out. Sidwell asks sarcastically, did commodity be to dear Rocco? Back at the Port Charles Grill, Ava joins Nina and Albrecht. She rants to them about Britt interposing her meeting with Sidwell. Albrecht suggests Britt went to Jens for help with Rocco. Ava admits Jens is an important man. In the show's final moments. At Windmere, Britt tells Rocco was assaulted, and he shouldn't be in juvie. Sidwell disagrees and sees this as discipline for Sonny and Laura's failure to cooperate with him. Britt is shocked when she realizes Sidwell is the one who had Rocco attacked. Sidwell taunts her that he has eyes and cognizance far and wide, and to flash back that at the station, Justine appears and is furious that Nathan pulled Rocco out of juvie. Nathan says it was for her benefit too, as she wouldn't want it known that the kiddies she prosecutes are victims of violence. She warns him not to do anything like this again. Justine goes in to tell Rocco the good news. She got the bail hail pushed up, and Rocco should be in his own bed by tonight. Outside of Lulu's, Alexis, Jason, and Laura agree that the kiddies are lying, and they can't let them go through with this. Alexis heads back in alone and says they all know they're lying, and it could land them both in trouble. Meanwhile, Laura tells Jason she understands what Charlotte and Danny are trying to do, but fortunately, they wouldn't have to go to court because Dalton, as Jason says, Dalton is nowhere. At the Port Charles Grill, Drew interrupts Nina, Albrecht and Ava and invites them all to his place for a Thanksgiving festivity. He teases that Kate will be spectacular. It's bad enough Drew and Willow are back for the leaves, but now it seems they're getting married on Thanksgiving. May the Quartermain curse transpire them. Eventually, Willow arrives at the sanitarium and invites Liz to her and Drew's house for Thanksgiving, and to be her maid of honor. Michael listens from around the corner as Willow says Drew proposed and she said yes. Liz accepts her assignation. The antiseptic scent of General Hospital clung to Michael Corinthos as he navigated the familiar corridors. His visits had become a grim routine, follow-ups for the burns that served as a permanent, physical reminder of the fire that had nearly consumed his life. In the exam room, the conversation with Elizabeth Baldwin, his trusted nurse and confidant, inevitably turned from his healing skin to the smoldering wreckage of his family. Willow is on administrative leave, Liz mentioned cautiously, her tone carefully neutral as she noted his vitals. Until the trial. Michael's jaw tightened. It was the expected outcome, yet hearing it aloud sent a fresh wave of anger through him. His ex-wife, the mother of his children, was officially suspended, her career as a nurse hanging in the balance alongside her freedom. Liz continued, her voice dropping slightly. She moved out of the apartment. She's back at the house with Drew. A harsh, mirthless laugh escaped Michael's lips. Of course she is. Another in a long line of spectacularly bad decisions from Willow. He could see the strategy as clearly as if Drew Kane had drawn him a diagram. Let me guess, he pitched it as a show of unity. The devoted, wronged couple standing strong against the world. He's crafting a narrative for the jury, and Willow is just playing her assigned part. Liz studied him, a flicker of pity in her eyes. She had seen the good in Willow, the woman trapped in an impossible situation. Michael, she began gently, if you're so worried about Drew's influence, there might be a way to pull her away from him. A powerful incentive. Michael knew what she was implying before she even finished the sentence. He cut her off, his voice like steel. Give her access to the kids? No. Absolutely not. It might be the only thing that could reach her. She's had chances, Liz. More than she deserved. The words were harsh, and he knew it, but he forged ahead, his conviction a shield against any accusation of cruelty. Every time, she's chosen the path that leads to more chaos, more danger. This isn't about punishing Willow. This is about protecting Wiley and Amelia. They are my priority. They deserve a mother who isn't on trial for attempted murder. They deserve stability, not a parent who makes choices that land her in a courtroom. His words hung in the sterile air, a final, unyielding verdict. In his mind, he was building a fortress around his children, and Willow, whether by her own volition or Drew's manipulation, had placed herself firmly on the outside. A tainted home, a proposal of convenience. The key felt foreign in her hand as Willow turned the lock on the door of Drew's house, a place that had once felt like a sanctuary, a promise of a new beginning. Now, as she stepped inside, suitcase in hand, the grandeur felt hollow, the beautiful furnishings tainted by the memory of violence and betrayal. Drew hobbled into the foyer, leaning heavily on his cane, a warm smile on his face that didn't quite reach his eyes. Welcome home, he said, his voice imbued with a forced cheerfulness. Willow's gaze swept the room, lingering on the spot where, not so long ago, her world had shattered. How can you live here? She whispered, the pain raw in her voice. After everything that happened in this very room? Drew's expression softened with a practiced empathy. Because when I'm here, I think of you. Of what you mean to me. That's what gets me through the pain. He gestured around them. But if these walls hold too many bad memories for you, say the word. We can sell it. I'll buy us a new home, a fresh start anywhere you want. It was a grand, romantic gesture, but it felt like a weight on her chest. It's not the house, Drew, she admitted, her shoulders slumping. I'm just overwhelmed. By the trial, by the leave, by everyone looking at me like I'm a monster. A shadow of insecurity crossed Drew's face. Are you having second thoughts? About us? No, she said quickly, needing to convince herself as much as him. I want a future with you. I do. I'm just terrified. Michael and his father, they control this town. The justice system, the media. How can I possibly get a fair trial? Have faith, Drew urged, moving closer. The truth will come out. You are innocent, and I will be standing right beside you, every step of the way. He then began to speak of his love for her, but his words soon expanded, encompassing a future that felt meticulously planned. He spoke of his devotion not just to her, but to her children, painting a picture of a ready-made family. Then, with a grimace of pain he masked as determination, he lowered himself to one knee, his cane clattering to the marble floor. He produced a velvet box, opening it to reveal a dazzling diamond ring. Willow Tate, he said, his voice thick with emotion, marry me. Willow's breath caught in her throat, not in joy, but in a dizzying sense of déjà vu. Having me by your side in that courtroom as your husband, he continued, his eyes locked on hers, it will send a message. It will show the jury, the whole town, that we are a united front. That we are a family. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were not the tears of a blushing bride. They were tears of bitter memory. Every time I've been married, she choked out, it was out of necessity. Because I was pregnant, or because I was sick. It was never just about love. It was always a transaction. The next time I get married, if there is a next time, I want it to be for the right reasons. Only for love. Drew's face fell, a flash of genuine hurt and frustration breaking through his composed facade. This is for the right reason, Willow. Unless you don't love me anymore. The ultimatum hung in the air, unspoken but deafening. In that moment, saying no felt like admitting her love had vanished, that their entire struggle had been for nothing. Trapped between her ideals and the crushing pressure of her circumstances, she looked from his pleading eyes to the glittering ring, a symbol of salvation and a new cage all at once. The Port Charles Grill, a mother's desperate gambit. A newly shorn Nina Reeves met her aunt, Liesl Albrecht, at a corner table in the Port Charles Grill. The chic, shorter hairstyle was a physical manifestation of her attempt to shed the past, but the anguish in her eyes remained. Albrecht, never one for subtlety, launched directly into her agenda. You must write a piece in crimson, she demanded. About Rocco and this farcical arrest. A miscarriage of justice. Nina shook her head, stirring her coffee listlessly. Lulu is his mother. She's in a better position to rally public opinion. Rocco has a whole village fighting for him, Laura, Sonny, Lulu, the entire Spencer Cassadine machinery. Her voice broke. But Willow, she has no one. Just Drew. Speaking of which, Albrecht sniffed, I hear she has moved back in with the man she allegedly tried to kill. Curious. Nina flinched. Albrecht then circled back to the source of Nina's current isolation, her disastrous decision to provide a false alibi for Willow, which had spectacularly backfired. Your compulsion to make up for lost time, to protect her from shadows, it only makes the real threats worse, Albrecht stated, a rare moment of piercing clarity. Nina slumped in her seat, the fight gone out of her. You're right. I know you're right. I did something else, Liesl. Something to try and save her, and now I regret it so much. Albrecht's eyes widened, a dramatic theory dawning on her. She leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. You shot Drew for her, didn't you? No. Nina hissed, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. I didn't shoot anyone. But I did. I threw Portia under the bus. I suggested to the police that they should look at her as a suspect, even though they weren't even considering her. Albrecht leaned back, a smirk playing on her lips. I don't know what is more dangerous, being your friend or your relative. The observation was as sharp as it was accurate. Nina buried her face in her hands. I can't lose Portia. Not in this town. I have so few friends left. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Ava Jerome, who slid into their booth with a huff, complaining about her own thwarted meeting with the enigmatic Jen Sidwell, interrupted by his irritating business with Britt Westbourne. Albrecht, ever the master connector of dots, immediately surmised, Britt went to Jen's for help with Rocco. Ava confirmed Sidwell's power with a wary nod, adding another layer of intrigue to the young boy's predicament. Lulu's townhouse, a pact of innocence. At Lulu's townhouse, a different kind of strategy session was underway, one born of childhood loyalty and a dangerously simplistic view of justice. Alexis Davis, Jason Morgan, and Laura Spencer had gathered with Danny Morgan to rehearse his and Charlotte Cassadine's official statement to the police about the incident at the lab. The atmosphere was tense. Laura answered the door, explaining that Lulu was retrieving Charlotte from school. As they settled in, the sound of raised voices filtered from outside. Through the window, they could see Lulu and Charlotte being intercepted by Nathan West, his police cruiser parked conspicuously at the curb. Before the adults could react, Charlotte slipped inside alone, her expression a mixture of anxiety and resolve. My mom is outside talking to Uncle Nathan, she explained vaguely. Outside, Nathan's message to Lulu was grim. You can't stay here, Lulu. It's not safe. Rocco needs you right now, and you need to be with him, not dealing with this. Back inside, the rehearsal began. Danny and Charlotte, with the unwavering certainty of youth, recounted their version of events. But then, Danny, emboldened by Charlotte's presence, added the new, fabricated twist. And then Dalton punched Rocco. That's how the fight really started. A silence fell over the room. Alexis, her lawyer's instincts on high alert, pounced on the inconsistency. Why are we only hearing about this now? This is a critical detail. Charlotte, the architect of the lie, stepped forward. Rocco was embarrassed, she said, her chin held high. We were scared that if we said anything, Dalton would just make up more lies about him. The adults exchanged a series of knowing glances. The story was flimsy, a child's attempt to reframe a narrative. Jason, his voice low and grave, addressed the two children. Listen to me. If you go into that police station and tell this story, and they catch you in this lie, it will blow up in your faces. It will be worse for Rocco, and it will be worse for both of you. Do you understand? Charlotte's gaze was steady. It's the truth, she insisted, the lie now cemented as reality in her mind. Recognizing the impasse, Alexis suggested she, Jason, and Laura confer outside, leaving the children under Laura's temporary watch. On the porch, the truth was acknowledged without words. They're lying, Alexis stated flatly. We can't let them do this, Laura agreed, her grandmother's heart breaking for the corner the children had painted themselves into. Fortunately, Jason added, his voice grim, they may not have to. Dalton is nowhere to be found. Juvie and the PCPD, a grandfather's wrath and an uncle's risk. The juvenile detention center was a bleak, soul-crushing place. Inside, Britt Westbourne knelt beside Rocco, her medical training overriding her personal turmoil. A fresh, ugly bruise marred his face. Get me a first aid kit. Now, she barked at an indifferent guard. I'm sorry, Britt, Rocco mumbled, shamefaced. For taking your fob, for breaking into the lab. I don't care about the fob, Britt cut him off, her fingers gently probing the injury. Who did this to you? Rocco explained it was another kid, but assured her his grandpa Sonny was handling it. Britt's blood ran cold. Sonny Corinthos's version of handling it would only escalate the violence, painting a larger target on the boy's back. It was the very reason she had to get him out. Before leaving, she fixed the guard with a lethal stare. If this boy gets so much as a hangnail, I will hold you personally responsible. Later, Nathan, leveraging his badge and his familial connection, brought Lulu to see her son. The sight of Rocco's battered face shattered Lulu's composure. Nathan, seeing the immediate danger, made a decision that straddled the line between duty and family. He officially took Rocco into his custody, transferring him from the volatile juvie to the relative safety of the PCPD. At the police station, Sonny Corinthos was already there, his presence a storm cloud in the interrogation room. He faced down Assistant District Attorney Justine Dawkins, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. I want my grandson released. Now. He was assaulted in your so-called care. We both know Dalton framed him. What is the holdup? Justine, maintaining a professional calm, delivered the troubling news. The holdup, Mr. Corinthos, is that Dalton seems to have vanished. The evidence is pointing toward a false police report, which is why I believe he skipped town. Given the circumstances and the risk to Rocco, I've managed to push for an immediate bail hearing. He could be home by tonight. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. When Nathan and Lulu arrived with Rocco, the reunion was emotional. Lulu turned to Nathan, her gratitude mixed with concern. You're amazing. But, did you just risk your career for us? It was a question that hung in the air, hinting at a potential shift in the fragile dynamics of their relationship. Windmere, the puppet master. Ava Jerome's meeting with Jen Sidwell at his Windmere estate was not going as planned. Sidwell, still smarting from the public defeat of his Measure C, was in a foul mood, dismissive of her attempts to discuss art. Their conversation meandered to Sonny and, inevitably, to Rocco's arrest. I've been following that story quite closely, Sidwell remarked, a cryptic, almost predatory interest in his eyes. Just as they settled on a date for his gallery visit, Britt Westbourne arrived, demanding an audience. Sidwell dismissed Ava with a curt apology for the irritating interruption. Once alone, his demeanor shifted from bored aristocrat to ruthless manipulator. He lashed out at Britt for her sloppiness, for overstepping her bounds. "I doubt you wish to end up like your friend, Dalton," he threatened coolly. Britt, refusing to be cowed, stood her ground. "I'm the only one who can complete my father's work, and you know it. But I need your help. Help me get Rocco out of juvie." A slow, cruel smile spread across Sidwell's face. "Did something happen to dear Rocco?" he asked, his tone dripping with false concern. The horrifying realization dawned on Britt. You had him attacked? A child?" Sidwell's eyes glinted with cold power. "Let's just call it incentive for his grandparents to reconsider their lack of cooperation. I have eyes and ears everywhere, Britt. It would be wise for you to remember that." The threat was clear. Rocco's safety was merely a pawn in his larger, more sinister game. Reckonings and invitations. The day's events culminated in a series of reckonings. At the PCPD, Justine confronted Nathan for his unauthorized transfer of Rocco. He defended his actions, stating it was for everyone's benefit, sparing her office the scandal of a harmed minor in their system. She relented but issued a stern warning against a repeat performance. She then delivered the good news to Rocco and his family. His bail hearing was secured. Outside Lulu's townhouse, Alexis, Jason, and Laura confirmed their suspicions. They could not, in good conscience, allow the children to perjure themselves. Alexis went back inside alone, her expression leaving no room for argument. "We know you're lying," she told Danny and Charlotte. "And if you tell this story to the police, it will land you both in a world of trouble you cannot imagine." Meanwhile, Drew Kane made the rounds at the Port Charles Grill, his engagement news seemingly erasing the lingering pain from his injury. He brightly interrupted Nina, Albrecht, and Ava, inviting them all to his home for a Thanksgiving celebration. "Dessert will be spectacular," he teased, a not-so-subtle hint of the life-altering announcement to come. The final thread was woven at the hospital. Willow found Liz, a mixture of excitement and trepidation on her face. She extended an invitation to the Thanksgiving gathering and, with a shy smile, asked Liz to be her maid of honor. "Drew proposed," she confessed. "And I said yes." Unseen, just around the corner, Michael Corinthos stood frozen, the words washing over him like a death knell. His worst fears were confirmed. The union he believed was a calculated farce was moving forward, binding his children's mother to his enemy in a way that would be nearly impossible to undo. As Liz accepted the invitation, Michael turned and walked away, the battle lines hardening, and the war for his family's future escalating to a terrifying new level.